Eye Contact, a Mark Manning Mystery, Book 2. Author, Michael Kraft. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Manning sighs, relieved, but still shaken. He opens his eyes and feels the tension start to drain from his body, which is curled into a tight fetal knot. It's the 1st of July, which means that the opening of Celebration 2000, our long-awaited civic festival of culture and science, is now only 2 days away. It's the buzz of the town and, indeed, the nation. The White House has announced that the president will definitely attend Saturday's ceremony. Neil groans from his side of the bed. I wish I could enjoy 5 waking minutes without hearing about that damned festival. Manning laughs, relaxes his body, and rolls over on the bed to gaze squarely into Neil's eyes. Good morning, kiddo. I've missed you. Oh, yeah? Where have you been? Goofy dream. Guess I've been struggling with something. Neil smooths Manning's hair, mussed from a restless sleep. Anything you want to share with me? Manning flops onto his back, staring at the ceiling. Yes, as a matter of fact. Only not right now. Sounds a trifle heavy. The radio continues. The Human Rights Rally, which will be the central event of Saturday night's celebration, will be dressed up with a little extra dazzle. A press release issued from the mayor's office by fax overnight. Manning and Neil turn their heads to eye each other with a deadpan stare. Announced that preparations are now complete for a surprise spectacle that will be staged as a finale to the evening. Details are sketchy, but the city's cultural liaison revealed that the spectacle involves cutting-edge laser technology. The display will be repeated nightly throughout the year-long festival. Manning asked, Now what's Victor up to? Beats me, says Neil. Turning now to our musical programming, let's enjoy a portion of the Oratorio, the Raft of the Medusa. Today we celebrate the birthday of its composer, Hans Werner Henze. Manning and Neil ask in unison, Who? Around 11 o'clock, Manning is working at his desk in the city room of the Journal when he senses that there is someone behind him. He looks over his shoulder to find Gordon Smith standing there, arms crossed, watching, grinning. The managing editor says, Knee deep in it, huh, Marco? Manning swivels to face him. No, Gordon, I'm neck deep in it, but so far it's only questions and loose ends. Clearly something very strange is going on, but nothing fits, and I can't make sense of it. Smith plants a palm on the desk and leans to ask Manning quietly, Is there any reason to think Nathan Kane is endangered by all this? Inching closer, Manning responds, Nothing I've learned points to that. But still, I've uncovered nothing that explains the military's interest in Zarnick. If my suspicion is correct that they're using Kane for something clandestine, we could all be in danger. Cliff Nolan didn't fit into the plan, and look what happened to him. Then maybe it's time to confide your suspicions to Nathan. Not yet. Give me another day or two. I've been trying to unravel this from too many angles, and I've gotten nowhere, so now I'll concentrate on a single issue. Zarnick's true identity. If we can lay bare the Zarnick scam, I'm reasonably certain we'll hold the key to Cliff's murder. I've got a lead, a slim one, on Zarnick now, and by the way, I may need to come up with an honorarium for my source. Smith reminds him, Kane gave you carte blanche. Go for it. I'll sign. Thanks, Gordon. I don't like bribing people for clues, but so far my free information hasn't been worth much. I wasted a day and a half up in Door County. I know. Nathan mentioned it to me. Manning blinks. Really? Shrugging, Smith says, he must have seen some expenses come through. Possibly thinks Manning, but not likely. He returned only yesterday. Yes. Has Kane shown much interest in my progress with the story? He's asked me about it a couple of times, but only in passing, while discussing other business. Of course, Nathan's a hard guy to read. Why do you ask? Manning rises, stretching his shoulders, working at a crick that developed from this morning at the keyboard. No reason, just natural curiosity. It's always worth knowing when the boss is breathing down your neck. Smith laughs. Don't I know it? So keep me posted, okay, Marco? I'd sure like to report something to Nathan. Sitting again, Manning assures him. You'll be the first to know, Gordon. Smith pats him on the shoulder, turns and saunters off through the newsroom toward his office. Manning slides his keyboard aside. He's not on deadline. He was typing his notes to help focus his thoughts and pulls Victor Utley's morgue file from the stack on his desk. There's a phone number on a post-it note stuck to the front of the folder. Manning checks his watch. He's getting anxious, so he reaches for the phone and punches in the number. He flips open the folder while the other phone rings. A man answers. Cultural Liaison's office. Hello, this is Mark Manning from the Journal. Is Victor Utley available? Speaking, he says. I may have a title, Mark, but I don't have a secretary. I'll try to remedy that during the mayor's next budget review. What can I do for you? And then he adds with a chortle, as if I couldn't guess. Manning stares at Utley's photo while speaking to him. Just wondering if you've had any luck securing access to one of the laser sites? Tomorrow would be great if you could swing it. Consider it done. Utley's voice rings with the pride of accomplishment. I had to pull a few strings, but that's what I'm here for. A true public servant, Manning says dryly. That's right, says Utley, attuned to Manner's cynicism, which perversely he seems to enjoy. Let's see now. The sound of shuffling papers carries over the phone. Here we are. The other two projector sites, in addition to the Journal building, are Sears Tower and the Mid-America building. Sears won't work for you. Too many tourists. I don't even know how they managed to get all that equipment up there without drawing a lot of attention. Which leaves us with Mid-America Oil. You're in luck, Mark. The mayor's pretty thick with their chairman, Bradley McCracken. I know from the mayor's calendar that he often has lunch with Brad at the Central States Club. Very exclusive. You know, top floor of the Mid-America building? Anyway, a favor was called in, and you're welcome to explore the tower platform tomorrow evening at 5:30. Nice job, Victor, Manning tells him, surprised that he was able to arrange it. Where do I go? Who do I see? Manning uncaps his pen and makes detailed notes of the logistics that Utley recites to him. Manning asks, This is all hush-hush, right? It's just a feature story, not hard news, but I want to be the first to break it. It's all yours, Mr. Manning. Compliments of Chicago's cultural liaison to the world. I hope that you'll consider these arrangements a favor from a friend. Manning rolls his eyes. Indeed I shall. And tell me, Victor, why the overnight press release hinting about the spectacle? No harm in drumming up a little extra interest, and it certainly won't tarnish the luster of my own office. What's more, tantalizing the public early will only heighten the impact of your story later. I suppose you're right, Manning tells him. Most of the stories I work on don't involve hype. They're just news. Bullshit! Journalism is hype. No, Manning insists. I can't agree with that. I admit that journalism can sometimes stray into sensationalism, and television does it all too often. But real journalism, reporting pure and simple, is not entertainment. It's an essential component of a truly free society. Yeah, well, whatever. Utley doesn't care enough to argue changing topics. He asks, any progress with that story on the mystery woman? The actress. Manning's tone is cautious. It's coming along, as we discussed yesterday. I may need some help, Utley reminds him. As we discussed yesterday. I may need some help, Utley reminds him. As we discussed yesterday, I may need some help. Have you spoken to your editor about the, honorarium? Manning supplies the missing word. Yes, we had a chat about it this morning. He's looking into it for me. As soon as I get the go-ahead, if I get the go-ahead, we can talk terms. Manning poises his pen above the note with the phone number. How much did you have in mind? That depends on how valuable the information is, Manning retorts. That depends on what you're able to tell me. If I draw a blank, you owe me nothing, but if I finger the gal, I want 10. Manning is silent. Utley amplifies. 10 grand. Jesus, Victor. Who writes your material? 10 grand? All right, already. 10,000. Or would 20 make you happier? Let me work on 10 first. Manning discreetly jots the figure on the yellow note. While capping his pen, he notices David Bosch approaching his cubicle. He tells Utley, I have to go now. I'll let you know about the money, whatever the outcome. I really do appreciate your help with the laser business. I'll bet you do, says Utley. And I hope we'll be talking again real soon. Soon enough, Manning tells him. Goodbye, Victor. And he hangs up. Grinning, David sits on the corner of the desk. It's not just Manning's imagination. David has been emulating his dress lately. He wears a pinstripe Oxford shirt, a preppy knit tie, and a pair of dressy khaki slacks that Manning hasn't seen before. David looks even hotter than usual in them, and Manning would surely remember them. A call from our neighborhood extortionist, David asks. Manning leans back in his chair, getting a full view of David. No, actually, I phoned him. It turns out he was able to arrange for me to examine the laser projector at the Mid-America building tomorrow at 5:30. David's brow wrinkles. I've been meaning to ask you, what's that all about? You don't write soft news. We've got a whole separate staff for features. Manning recounts to David the incident in Kane's office on Monday. When he saw the menacing device being hoisted to the Journal's tower platform, it just didn't look like the type of apparatus that might be used for a light show. So I want to get a look at one of the other projectors to see if it's the same. More than likely, I'm acting on an empty hunch, but even at that, it will make a damned good feature piece. Want me along? Asks David. Maybe, says Manning. Let's see how tomorrow shapes up. Besides, 5:30 on Friday, you probably got a big weekend planned. David shakes his head. I'm all yours, he grins slyly. Oops. Manning does in fact want to talk about that, but not here. He tells David, our friend Victor named his price, by the way, to identify your mystery woman. How much? $10,000. Pricey for a local tip, but both Kane and Smith have authorized whatever it takes, so Victor might be in for some easy money. David flips open Utley's folder. Victor's publicity photo smiles at the ceiling from the top of the pile. When do you go to work with him? Not yet. Manning lifts the photo from the file and stares back at Utley's crooked smirk. I just don't know if I can trust this guy. Let's see if he can actually deliver on his promised access to the laser projector before I reveal to him that it's Professor Zarnick, not some woman whose true identity I need to establish in order to stall. I said that the money wasn't approved yet. He tosses Utley's photo back into the file and closes the folder. David stands and their conversation laps. Shoving his hands in his pockets, he seems reticent to say what's on his mind. When he does speak, his usual breeziness is tempered by a hint of bashfulness. I was wondering, Mark, if I might take you and Neil to dinner sometime? Of course, says Manning, amused that David would be apprehensive to ask such a question. That would be great, but we wouldn't expect you to host. No, I want to, David continued. You guys have been really good to me, and it's the least I can do. He gives a furtive glance over both shoulders, then leans toward Manning with a conspiratorial grin. How about tonight? Afterwards, maybe the three of us could... You know. Whoa. Manning should have seen that coming, but he wasn't ready for it. Awkwardly, he reaches for his calendar, already knowing what's on it, needing a moment to think. Sorry, David, but we have plans with Roxanne and Carl tonight. Presumably the mystery of his Tuesday excursion will be explained. Manning stops the previous engagement is not the point. Not by a long shot. He rises and rests a hand on David's shoulder, telling him, let's talk out front. Sure, Mark. And he walks off with Manning toward the reception area outside the newsroom. The door to one of the little conference rooms is open, the same room in which they met with Utley yesterday. Manning leads David inside, switches on the light, and closes the door. With a banging of chrome legs, they settle into chairs next to each other, ready to talk at close range. The room is eerily quiet, with no ambient noise other than the hum of fluorescent lights in the tiled ceiling. Compared to the charged atmosphere of the newsroom, with its two-story ceiling and muffled but constant din, this cramped, silent space evokes the feeling of a confessional. With elbows on the table, Manning leans near the young reporter. David, he begins, I just can't forget what happened Tuesday night. Me neither, says David, beaming. I mean, I can't dismiss it, Manning clarifies. I want to, and I thought I could, but I can't. Believe me, I'm overwhelmingly flattered that you've taken such an interest in me, and I'd be a liar if I tried to deny that I find you attractive. Hell, you're one of the most beautiful young men on the planet, but I'm committed to Neil. He's the man I love, and there's just no room in that relationship for fooling around. Yes, I've wondered if there might be, but I've come to the conclusion that it's just too risky, especially with you. It's not only risky, but dishonest. Primarily to Neil, but to you and to myself as well. Do you understand why I'm telling you that sex can't be a part of our future friendship? David eyes him with a wan smile. I don't like it, but yes, I understand it. Manning laughs softly. It's ironic. Last week, this issue crept into my dreams, a full-blown fantasy of what might develop between you and me. Last night I had a similar dream, but it concerned the aftermath of what I'd done, and now I can't shake the guilt. Oh, sure, on a purely intellectual level, I can rationalize that what happened between us was merely a no-fault extension of natural, physical drives that led to a situation we were powerless to resist. I never intended to cheat on Neil or to harm our marriage. But that's precisely what I've done. David rests his finger on Manning's forearm. Mark, aren't you being a little hard on yourself? Manning rests his own fingertips atop David's. Yes, I am, but it's the only way I can face the reality of what needs to be done. Wearily, David leans back in his chair, withdrawing his fingers from Manning's arm. Oh, what do you mean? Manning exhales, pauses. I mean that I'll have to tell Neil what happened. Don't be nuts, Mark. That'll serve no purpose whatsoever. It'll clear the air, Manning insists. For you, maybe, but what about Neil? He's rational and mature. He'll understand why I need to level with him. He'll doubtless be pissed, but I'm confident we'll be stronger for it in the end. Possibly, says David, but he'll come after me with an axe. Manning forces an uneasy laugh. Neil isn't that sort of person. David dismisses the thought with a wave of his hand. Oh, I know he won't lash out physically, but he'll hate me. I'll be the villain, the homewrecker. Not if the home isn't wrecked, and I won't let that happen. Besides, I'll be careful not to cast you in that light. I'll be bearing my soul, not yours. I also happen to know that Neil has harbored a few fantasies of his own about you. If he suffers a bout of jealousy over this, it won't be because you and I had sex. It'll be because I got you before he did. David wags his head. Totally bizarre. Manning leans back in his chair to tell him. Yes, my young friend, the complexities of human relations present a mystery that only deepens with years. Just when you grow confident that you've at last got it all figured out, you learn that you don't know squat. That's encouraging. They both laugh before David continues. I'd like to talk to you out of this, but it sounds as if you've made up your mind. I have, David. I don't want you to fret over it, but I thought you deserved to know my intentions. Resigned to the inevitable, David asks, when will you tell him? Soon. Maybe tonight. And David puckers, exhaling a silent whistle. After a long pause, he nods, once decisively, as if he's reached a conclusion of his own. Let me know how it goes, okay? Manning smiles. Sure, David. Thanks for being so mature about this. I'm glad to be through with this conversation, but still dreading the one yet to come. He checks his watch. Let's get back to work. They squeeze out of their chairs, trying not to scuff the walls. But their good intentions are for naught. As Manning opens the door for them to leave, he notices the back of a familiar figure standing at the receptionist desk. The man's frumpy frame and frizzy hair can belong to no one else. Christ, says Manning, stopping David in the doorway. It's Zarnick. What's he doing here? David states the obvious. I assume he wants to see you. Manning strides forward, calling, Good morning, Professor. What an unexpected pleasure. Zarnick spins on his heel. Ah, Mr. Manning. Hello. And Mr. Bosch. He trundles toward them, and they all shake hands, David engaging him in the pinky shake. I was running an errand along Michigan Avenue when I realized that your offices are here in the tower. I had planned to phone you this afternoon, so I decided to pop in. for a visit. Big city newspaper. How exciting. Would you care to see the newsroom? Manning offers. I would like that very much, but remorsefully I am running very late. He shakes his watch free of his cuff and squints at it. Perhaps you could extend the courtesy of a tour some other day. I shall take, how do you call it, a rain note? Rain check, David corrects him, playing along with the actor's faulty command of idiom. Whatever, says Zarnick to David, lapsing out of his accent for a moment. Recovering, he tells Manning. I simply wanted to inform you that I have compiled the data with which I was unable to supply you last week. I am sorry that it's taken this long, but I had to be certain the numbers were correct. I appreciate that, says Manning. I need to flesh out my next story with more hard facts. Have you brought notes that you can leave with me? Zarnick crosses his hands over his chest. I am desolate, Mr. Manning. Since I did not intend to come here this morning, I did not bring my notes. I wonder if you might pick them up at my lab tomorrow? You could just fax them, David suggests. Zarnick wags a finger. No, my friend. That is not possible. You see, the data are supported by background information that is highly confidential. I must deliver it into the hands of Mr. Manning. Well, fine, says Manning, aware that Zarnick is blowing smoke, but happy to play along, and let him take the lead. What time would you like to see me? 5 o'clock. Friday at 5 is an odd time for a business appointment. Besides, Manning is due at the Mid-America building at 5:30. He says to Zarnick, could we make it earlier in the day? It's not a very good time for me. Zarnick hesitates. Then he steps close to Manning and looks him straight in the eye. With no inflection and barely a trace of his usual accent, he says, please come at 5. It's very important. You'll understand. Manning looks to David for a moment, then back to Zarnick. 5 o'clock. Excellent, says Zarnick, clapping his hands fully in character again. I am so delighted that we had the opportunity to have this little chat. He skitters away from Manning and David towards the bank of elevators, where one of the cars has just arrived with a ding. Ready to go down, he taps his watch and tells them, I truly must dash now. He waves his fingers and hops into the elevator. Its doors slide shut, and he's gone. And David turns to Manning. What was that all about? Manning shrugs. We'll find out tomorrow. Still staring at the closed elevator door, he asks, David, that goofy walk of Zarnick's, that skitter, do you suppose that someone might describe it as a limp? A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.